and speak to them. But anyways, the meeting that I observed that I'm referring to is really interesting. It was for the pharmaceutical company that I'll keep anonymous. What was it? They would have these. They would find these companies that are there's actually a lot of good companies in the medical field that are really trying to make a difference, right?
For sure.
And but there's the top ones that are the gatekeepers and that are calling the shots. The Pfizers of the world, these big ones, right?
Yeah.
These guys are really calling the shots, and so. Anyway, so these small the meeting consisted of the pharmaceutical company I was working for letting us know that I don't know if they let it slip or what, but they said that there was companies that would develop these drugs that were eventually they would basically put their drug out of business if it came to fruition. Like they say it's
because it's better, or
it would solve something that they're already treating the symptoms for.
Okay,
if you does that make sense? If I have a drug and I'm treating the symptoms of this disease, I don't want someone to be able to cure that disease. Right? That puts me out of business. So what they were doing was they would acquire these companies before they could get this drug out in order to maintain the situation so I could treat the symptom.
Yeah, so they can keep treating, because cures, it's done, it's gone.
Yeah, and I remember this was on something, I couldn't speak to the specifics of, I wouldn't anyways, but I don't remember that it was a real bad disease or something like that, but it was something, it was a model that probably happens all the time, is my point. And it was on some obscure thing that didn't really make a big impact to society, which is probably why they were telling us. We weren't going to go all up in arms like this is wrong, but it was pretty eye-opening to say the least. So I was like, eesh.
Mind blown. Wow. And companies, what they kind of say, the term, they kind of fatten you up. You get the company car, you get the good salary, so everything's feeling good. It's like, but shout out to you for heeding the signs and
oof. Yeah,
man. And then you're seeing what's going into people and you're like, nah, this isn't right. This isn't it.
Yeah, I didn't see anything like that. Like on my side, it was, I didn't know enough about the drugs to really know anything. So I was just, I got you. I know more about this stuff now than I did when I was working there. I can tell you this, that I thought that was the pinnacle of, it was the pinnacle of sales jobs at the time. The pharmaceutical job was an elevation of the software sales because they give you your own car. They, the top reps are making more money, and you get to help people, quote unquote, right? So that's where I was coming from. I was like, oh, wait a minute, I can get a company car, I can make more money, and I'm going to be able to help people at the same time. This is better than making some random, CEO in San Francisco a bunch of money. So it took me only about 10 months to realize that was not what was going on, so I left really quick. I only lasted a year. And what was going on is it was basically the pharmaceutical salespeople nowadays. They were basically food delivery people. You just go into these doctors' offices and you bribe them with food and coffee and stuff like that to try and get them to stop in between their appointments, the doctors, to stop in between their appointments so you can talk to them about, hey, you need to prescribe more of this, or hey, here's this new drug. It's the worst. It's literally the worst. Before I started working, you used to be able to take them to soccer games or football games. You could take them to concerts. The doctors.
Wow.
You had this unlimited budget from the pharmaceutical companies, and you could just do whatever it took to build your relationship with the doctor so they would prescribe more of the drug.
Wow.
When I started, they had all of these rules in place because what had happened is people were like, doctors were getting in trouble. They were paying them like astronomical amounts of cash. The pharmaceutical companies were paying the doctors cash
just to take the product,
just to sell more, or just to prescribe more of the product. What they would do, let me tell you exactly what they would do.
Yeah.
they would pay the doctor to go speak about the product,
Okay.
about this new drug, right? And then, but really what was happening is they were just paying the doctor a bunch of money to prescribe more of, there was just a background deal to prescribe more of said drug.
Oh.
It was just, the speech was just a front to give the doctor cash.
Gotcha.
Right? Because you can't say, here, doctor, prescribe more of this, drug. Here's a bunch of money. They have to do something for you.
For
right?
sure.
So they would speak about, the drug or like
God.
do some,
Yes.
they would speak in some sort of forum. So anyway, so that got shut down. It was, the pharmaceutical industry was like that, like super corrupt.
That is
and it was
crazy.
like that forever. When I started, they had just cracked down on that. So all you could bribe them with was food. It was like food and coffee.
Yeah.
You could still pay them to do these speaker events, but there was a cap on how much you could pay them.
Gotcha.
So it was terrible. I mean, it was literally like a food delivery person.
Yeah, they put them sanctions on the reps, like they did Russia. Put them sanctions,
Big time.
Dang, man, that story kind of reminds me back like when COVID was real relevant. Taking the shots and the medicines, like it just kind of rings that bell, because I was hearing that too with doctors and stuff. Hey, we're gonna slide you some bread just to get the shots out there, because wasn't there like 3 companies that were making the shots?
Yeah, I think there was 3, maybe 4 towards the end, but I'm not quite sure.
Yeah, same. But yeah, I mean, you heard I'm sure you know of those stories where they're like, hey, here, get these out.
Oh man, it always, when a lot of that stuff was going on, it's amazing to me how much trust that people give people, like not just that industry, but just people in general. When there's that amount of money that's at stake and that amount of power, I mean, I'm talking about bribes just on the low level pharmaceutical rep to a local doctor. There's bribes going on there. That's what I'm referencing, right?
Right.
That's like way down here on the totem pole.
Gotcha.
Imagine when you're up here, and you're talking about prescriptions for the entire world. I mean, I think the amount of corruption that goes on up there is absolutely unfathomable.
Yes.
I mean, if I was able to see it at my little low level, like who knows?
Who knows?
Who knows?
Crazy, man. It was a whole weird thing, something I didn't know much about, but I was like, damn, you could just see it.
Yeah, you could feel it.
Yeah, so to just hear it on your level, it's like, man, that is wild.
Mm-hmm. And we had I had a really interesting meeting that I sat in on. They used to train us in New York. So they'd fly us out to New York, the pharmaceutical company. They'd fly us to New York. We'd be there for 3 weeks at a time, and they would train us. Now, I got the job, and then in order to be qualified to sell medicine to a doctor, they send you to New York for 3 weeks. And so they train a rep for 3 weeks to then be giving advice to doctors, right? That's literally how it works.
What?
3 weeks, you could be out of school. You could be just coming from a tech job like me.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, the doctor's asking me what to do.
A doctor. We're talking 8-10 years of school.
Full blown MD. I was in the mental health department. So we're talking about like serious stuff here
For sure.
that I know nothing about. And they would train me for 3 weeks to go